Thank you for being here. I am joined by Chief O'Shea. We called this press conference today to discuss an important issue, but first I want to make sure everybody's ready to go. Start to roll. All right. On April 27th of this year, I was contacted by the Rockford Area Economic Development Council and asked to discuss with them concerns that they had regarding irregularities in accounting and possible embezzlement and theft involving an employee. After that discussion, I contacted the Rockford Police Department, in particular Chief Dan O'Shea, to discuss how this matter would be investigated. As we do with many cases, and probably most notably and recognizable by those in the community and the media, we evaluate cases with our federal partners, examples, drugs and guns, but there are other areas as well. This case was one that we chose to discuss with the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the FBI. And the decision has been made to ask and turn over the investigation of this matter to the Federal Bureau of Investigations. The FBI will, at this point in time, be investigating this case going forward. As we do in many cases, we work collaboratively with our federal partners, but with that said, we expect the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office to take the lead. After the FBI completes their investigation, if sufficient evidence exists, the U.S. Attorney's Office will be making a decision on whether or not to proceed with charges. I cannot absolutely foreclose that there wouldn't be state charges, but at this point in time, there isn't a high expectation that that's the direction that we're going to go. Today, myself and Chief O'Shea wanted to let you know what our decision was, answer any questions for you about this process, where we are, what stage it's at, and where we expect it to go. Before taking any questions, I'm going to ask Chief O'Shea to make a brief statement. Thanks.
So as State Attorney Briscato said, we work with our federal partners all the time on many cases. Simply put, this type of investigation over, as it's portrayed right now, over many years, the Federal Bureau of Investigation is much better equipped with in-house resources than we would be. These cases tend to get very down in the weeds, and the Bureau obviously has accountants and certified fraud investigators, whereas we would end up contracting that out. Our detectives are not at that forensic level. So very appreciative of U.S. Attorney and the Federal Bureau of Investigation here in Rockford for agreeing to take it, and I applaud them and State Attorney Briscato for all of us working together and get to the bottom of this and resolve the case.
I also want to indicate that representatives of the Rockford Area Economic Development Council have been informed of this decision, and also want to make sure you know that Chairman Frank Haney and Mayor Tom McNamara are also aware of the situation. Everybody understands the circumstances and is in agreement that this would be the best place for this case to be investigated, and if it is warranted, to be prosecuted. Take questions at this time. Gio.
And this would be regarding Leilani Post, is that correct?
Well, at this point in time, I'm not going to name individuals because I'm going to allow the FBI to conduct the investigation and decide, who their person of interest is. I am well aware of who has been named publicly as a person of interest, but I'm going to defer to the investigation and allow that to be completed before applying a name at this juncture. But I understand that is a person of interest, but I'll leave that up to the FBI to decide who they focus on.
Is there any expectation at this point as far as for people to expect maybe a time frame and we can maybe expect to hear back from the FBI on some of these possible charges or their findings, or is that still up in the air?
Two answers to that question. One, I would definitely defer to the FBI for that answer, but I would also say to you, Mary, that investigations are like a fingerprint. They take the amount of, they're individual, and they take the amount of time that is necessary to properly complete this investigation. I'm confident the FBI will work as quickly as possible, but I'm also confident that they won't engage in a rush to judgment, and they'll do everything they can to make sure the investigation is thorough before turning it over to the U.S. Attorney's Office or making any other decision.
On that note,
Yes, Emma?
if you, going forward, what kinds of things are they going to be looking into? What types of information are they looking for? Do you know anything about what goes into this type of investigation?
Sure. And I can't speak to what they'll look at this specific investigation because that will be up to the FBI. But in general, in investigations of this nature, clearly they're going to be reviewing the books, if you will, of the RAEDC. They'll be investigating and discussing any potential witnesses, taking statements, as well as potentially looking at computer records and any other types of information that would naturally go into this. As the chief alluded, it can be very detailed and very skill-oriented as well. The FBI is known for employing a large number of attorneys and accountants, and so it fits well within the parameters of work that they do on a regular basis.
Can you give us a little bit of a time frame of when, again, you were approached about this by the RAEDC?
April 27th. And I was informed late in the afternoon on April 27th. A discussion followed with Chief O'Shea, and then subsequent discussions, as we do quite often with other potential agencies. It's certainly no secret that myself and Chief O'Shea enjoy working on a very collaborative basis with other law enforcement agencies, including our federal partners, and that's what went on here. With the conclusion yesterday that the case would be best served and the citizens would be best served to have the FBI investigate it. We decided to make sure that we're keeping the community informed. We're well aware of the fact that this is a case that has been of interest, and we wanted to make sure we answered any questions about this process. While we recognize it to be regular and customary, especially in the area of drugs and guns, we also are cognizant of the fact that the community and the media may have some questions about how this process occurs and why it occurred, and answer any questions along those lines. Chief, did you want to add anything? No? Good.
Unless you got questions in particular
Chief?
for me?